Hello, Western Civ 105, and welcome to week 2. I just want to say, for the most part, the work I'm seeing is looking great. And so feel positive about that. You work very hard with these summer sessions, and you deserve to feel good about yourselves when you're getting it all done. Now, this Sunday, you all turned in batches of the papers. And this is always the part that's a little bit tricky when you're a student and trying to figure out what the professor wants. So don't worry, I'm not going to grade as hard on the first week. I will write to you things if I think you need improvement for the next time. So just keep this in mind. If I give you full points, I've read your paper and I'm saying, good job. We're set up just the way you need it to be. Keep doing it like that. If I write something to you and say, next time, or what I'd like to see is blah, 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 then understand that I do expect to see you respond to my recommendation for the next paper, okay? And if you feel like you're having a hard time with that, let me know. For those of you who are second language learners, I don't always know, I don't know who you are. Sometimes I will read some notes or a paper and the grammar and the sentence structure is a little bit more challenged than others. It could be the fact that English is not your first language, or it could be some other reason. In that case, what I want to recommend for you to do is not feel overwhelmed, but you really should go to the writing center. And if I get a paper that's really too hard to read or follow our notes because of this issue, I'm going to really say, look, you're going to need to go to the writing center to help you clean this up, because I'm not grading based on spelling and grammar and all of that. But if it's too hard to understand, and if the paper is, if it's not written well enough to be understood clearly, then we do have a problem. Because if we're going to move forward in college and go to university, transfer from MJC, this is something that we need to address. What I really want to tell all of you is that I myself have always had a challenge with writing papers. Sometimes you'll even maybe notice that my grammar is a little less polished than it should be. I didn't grow up in an academic household. I didn't take school very seriously until later in life, and so I'm a late bloomer, and I think I've worked very hard. I've read tons, but that's where I need to be polished. And when I was at university, my professors would give me much praise, but when they get my papers, sometimes they would say, okay, you're gonna have to, Josh, you need to step it up. They would just tell me. And I'd have to redo sometimes my papers. That was a challenge. So I want to just help you guys become aware, all of you, that I'm not grading hard on the papers, but it needs to be enough to still be up to speed with college and getting you ready for the next level, okay? Having said that, just to briefly say, we are covering a lot of information again this week. But we're really going to streamline the content on 18th century, which is also known as the Enlightenment, and the French Revolution. And you're going to watch a documentary on the French Revolution. I had an entire class at UC Santa Cruz on the French Revolution. I mean, the whole quarter, we had a quarter system. And I had to read tons of books. We had to cover so much on the French Revolution. And I'm not covering it for all of you in that in-depth way. But just to let you know, this is a highly, highly, highly significant revolution to understand and know. And one of the things that I came to my mind when I was at UC Santa Cruz and I was reading all these different works from Algeria and Tunisia, Africa, when I was looking at Vietnam, when I was looking at places where France colonized certain peoples in Africa and Asia, it's interesting that as they colonized and dominated other people's cultures, and then they were kind of doing this thing where, for those who could actually get a Western education in their own country, they would be forced to read French history, and you would see an Algerian or a Vietnamese student reading and studying about the French Revolution and going, this is a great idea, right? And it's funny how, I don't know if I want to use the word funny, the French Revolution ends up being an inspiration of those that felt that they were oppressed by the French to actually resist the French in a violent, revolutionary way. And then combining that with the little Marxist-Leninism and the Russian Revolution, and it all kind of blew up in the face of the French, so to speak. But that's a whole other topic. In any case, you will see it's very, very, very important to understand this. And in terms of the Enlightenment, now I call it 18th century. This is something that a French intellect named Michel Foucault, a very big name in philosophy and history, he's known for calling the Enlightenment period the 18th century. And what he's basically saying is, when you say Enlightenment, that's celebrating it as a 100% positive thing. 18th century, in a sense, kind of knocks it down a notch and says, it's the 18th century. It's 18th century learning. Is it more enlightened than other time periods? It's a little bit more subjective, right? I actually happen to enjoy Enlightenment history and ideas, but I also like the idea of Michel Foucault kind of knocking it down, this kind of Western prestige of this time period down to the level of being the 18th century. Keeps us humble, right? In any case, I hope that you all are starting to get familiar with this routine, enjoy the information. Please, please, please always contact me when you have any questions. And I'm going to leave it here. Have a great week.